It began with silence. Not the kind that lingers in empty rooms or settles over snow-laden fields, but a silence so complete, it felt like the world had forgotten how to breathe. Birds paused in their flight. Rivers slowed, their ripples fading. Cities held their breath. In a quiet village nestled between two forgotten mountain ranges, a girl named Leora sat by her window, staring at the moon. She was no more than 15, with a heart full of wonder and a voice no one had ever heard. Mute since birth, her eyes were her only language, wide, unfiltered, always searching. That night something stirred, not in the trees or the wind, but in the very air itself. She sat up straighter, tilted her head. There it was, a note, faint, fragile, like the very first sound ever made, a song, delicate as starlight. Her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but recognition. Though she had never spoken a word, the song knew her name. Across the world, similar moments bloomed in quiet hearts. A child on the outskirts of Cairo, a monk deep in the caves of Tibet, an old woman sweeping her stoop in Buenos Aires. They paused, looked up, listened. Each one heard it, and each had lived a life touched by something unexplainable, an act of kindness given freely, a burden carried for another, a secret prayer whispered not for themselves, but for someone else. These were the ones the song had chosen. Leora ran to her mother, tugging her sleeve, eyes wide with urgency. But her mother heard nothing. She shook her head, concerned. "Are you all right, my love?" Leora could only nod, unsure how to explain that the sound she couldn't make had finally found her. That night, after Leora heard the melody for the first time, she couldn't sleep. The notes, soft, golden, weightless, still echoed inside her mind, as though they had taken root within her very breath. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw not darkness, but a pale light pulsing to the rhythm of the song. By dawn, the world was restless. Hospitals reported patients smiling inexplicably. Stray animals gathered near churches. Children stopped crying mid-tantrum. Something was happening, and no one knew what to call it. The scientists tried first. Seismic anomalies, atmospheric shifts, mass hallucination, but nothing showed up on their machines. Religious leaders followed, some proclaiming a miracle, others warning of delusion. But only the chosen could hear the melody, and each, like Leora, felt it was calling them somewhere. A forgotten place. A meeting point whispered into their hearts. Leora packed a small bag, kissed her mother goodbye, and began walking. She wasn't the only one. Across the globe, a quiet migration began. Those who had heard the song were drawn to the same place, though they did not know its name. A valley untouched by maps, hidden beneath clouds that hadn't moved in centuries. And there, at the heart of that sacred place, something waited, not just to be found, but to be understood. She wandered beyond the village. Her feet moved without thought, guided by something older than instinct. The birds were silent, yet the leaves on the trees shimmered with a subtle vibration, like they too were humming along with a melody only the pure could hear. She arrived at the edge of a forest no one dared enter, Verdolin Grove. Its trees were thick, twisted by time and silence. But this morning, the entrance was clear. Not a path, but a corridor of light between the trees. Leora stepped in. The deeper she walked, the more the forest changed. Time bent here. Flowers bloomed as she passed. Shadows recoiled. A fox with silver eyes watched her from a distance, then vanished without a sound. And then, the sound returned. Not through her ears, but through her heart. It wasn't just a melody anymore, it was a chorus. Dozens of voices, each unique, weaving harmonies so intricate they defied language. They didn't sing words, but emotions, longing, purity, grief, wonder. Leora fell to her knees, overwhelmed. And then she saw them, figures standing in a circle, translucent like memory made flesh. They were children, elders, strangers, warriors, all from different eras, dressed in clothes from different times. But each held the same expression: peace. They sang not to be heard, but to awaken something hidden. At the center stood a woman draped in white, her eyes closed, hands lifted to the sky. From her chest glowed a shard of pure light, beating in time with the song. As Leora stepped into the circle, the woman opened her eyes. "You heard it," she said. "So few do." Leora nodded. "You were chosen because your silence carried truth. Not everyone who is silent is lost. Some are listening. And now, the world is finally quiet enough to hear." "But why now?" Leora asked with her hands. The woman looked up toward the canopy, where the light filtered down like divine silk. "Because the world has broken its noise, and in its brokenness, something holy returns." Suddenly the trees bent, revealing the horizon, cities in the distance where people stood frozen, staring upward. Across the world, in deserts, in temples, in crumbling alleyways, people had stopped, and they were listening. Each one hearing the song, each one remembering who they once were. And for the first time in an age, Earth held its breath. The melody did not end, it grew. It moved through the valley like sunlight touching water, soft and alive. It touched Leora first. Her chest lifted, her lips parted. She took in a sharp breath, then gasped again. Not because of fear, because she heard it. Not just the song, everything. The rustle of leaves, the breeze on her skin, the sound of her own heartbeat, and then her own voice. Small at first, unsteady. "Ma." The word broke free like a dam bursting in her throat. She clutched her chest, laughing and crying all at once. For the first time, her voice had form, sound, warmth, music. Across the world, in every quiet place where the song had been heard, others like her, those who had never known sound, suddenly listened to birdsong, to footsteps, to laughter. And they too began to speak. Words stumbled out of them like newborns learning to walk. Rough, beautiful, full of life. Not all at once, but enough to begin again. Those who heard the melody were healed, not only in body, but in soul. Their silence had never been emptiness. It had been waiting. And now, the wait was over. For the rest of the world, no ears opened, no sudden voices emerged, but hearts shifted. The angry became still. The lonely reached out. The bitter remembered kindness. In cities, people began to walk slower. In homes, families looked at each other longer. Not everything changed, but something essential did. It was as if the melody had reminded them that they were not machines, not noise, but people. Fragile, needing one another. Leora stood in the circle, surrounded by those who had heard as she had. They were smiling, not just because they could now speak, but because they finally felt seen. The woman in white placed a hand on Leora's shoulder. "This is the first note," she said. "The rest of the song is how you live." And with that, the melody faded, not into silence, but into memory. A memory they could carry, a memory they could share. From that day on, people would say the world became a little quieter, but somehow more alive, as if the earth had learned to listen again. And sometimes, on nights when the sky was clear and the wind was gentle, children would tilt their heads and say, "Can you hear it?"